Are kindness and compassion the most important things? This noblewoman answers, no, it's discipline, and that for commoners who fail to uphold such discipline, Alicia Williams would never accept. Alicia was the villainess in this girl's favorite otome game. She's an evil girl who torments the heroine, but this girl admired her fortitude and sympathized with her ruthless verbal abuse. She just couldn't bring herself to like the heroine after all. The Magic Academy is for nobles only, but they made an exception for her, even though she's a commoner. She's a goody two-shoes who's always spouting lip service. She uses her innocent, angelic smile to toy with the prince's emotions. This girl's friends all say they'd want to be the heroine, so everyone would love them. But personally, if she were reborn, she'd much rather be the villainess. And waking up, she now just remembered having those thoughts. Right now, she's the 7-year-old Alicia, the eldest daughter of the high-ranking Williams family. Her kind brothers are the conquerable routes in the game. Up until yesterday, she didn't even question it. But this is definitely the world of that game. Her eyes sparkled, realizing she's reincarnated as the villainess. She couldn't pass up on this opportunity. She wanted to work hard to become the greatest villainess who goes down in history. And man, my channel will be history if you don't like this video and subscribe. Okay, maybe I'm being dramatic, but here at my Shoujo Weekly, I've got plenty of villainous stories to share with you. You'll find romance, you'll find drama, you'll find the most charming of princes. I also stream on a weekly basis, where we talk about anime and explore interesting games with you. So please, hit that subscribe, or I might die. No isekai. Alicia ran down the halls past her mother and her maid with a lot of vigor. They were certainly surprised to see her up so early. But Alicia was saying farewell to the undisciplined child she's been these last 7 years. She can't waste time if she wants to be a villainess who goes down in history. The first step was learning the art of the sword from her brothers. They were just as surprised to see her awake this morning, and even more that she was asking for sword training. She told them she wanted to get stronger, but they didn't believe her. The stern brother, Henry, claimed her request was merely a whim, just like everything else she asked for. The playful brother, Alan, scoffed that this was her usual behavior. However, the kind, sweet brother, Albert, promised to teach her on the condition that she build up the strength to wield a sword. She needed to do 100 sit-ups and 50 push-ups per day. If she did that for a week, he promised to teach her, although the brothers were doubtful she could handle it. She told them not to make light of her, running off looking forward to next week. Her plan was to study magic right now, and do strength training in the evening before bed. In this world, only nobles possess the mana that enables the use of magic. There are several attributes, with the most basic being dark, fire, light, wind, and water. The nobles who excel in these top 5 attributes are known as the 5 great noble families. They serve the king directly and function as the pillars of the kingdom. The Williams family, which excels in dark magic, is one of them. But even if she was blessed with natural talent, she knew she couldn't master any magic without training. She scrambled all around the library, disappointed to not find even a single book on magic. She decided to start with a book on plants, since she needed to broaden her knowledge with more than just magic anyways. She learned of herbs that brought down fevers, flowers that glow, and flying trees. But oh man, she was so engrossed in her readings that didn't exist in her previous world, she lost track of time. She was content, hardly believing she read all of these in one day. It seems Alicia's body had a natural talent in academics. However, as she barely stretched over 50 push-ups, shaking all the way, she would learn this same body was physically untalented. She'd continue to push though for the sake of her ambition. After resting, she'd find that the next day she could accomplish the push-ups and sit-ups with no problem. Her next plan was breakfast, then back to the library. She read at a breakneck pace, pushed her sit-ups to now 200, push-ups to now 300. So after 7 days of reading and training, she made a phenomenal amount of progress. Now able to do 500 sit-ups and 300 push-ups. Surely her big brother Albert should have no reason to complain. However, seeing Alicia's pleasant mood shocked all the men in her family. Her father, Arnold, asked what's come over her lately, especially since she's been waking up early. She smiled, assuring him nothing's come over her. She knew she was definitely giving off the vibe that she's plotting something, and so joyous over the fact she was like a real villain. Well, it's not like they'd believe her if she told them she recalled living a previous life. The mother then brought up how Albert was going to be out today. Turns out Paul would be taking the boys on a tour of the Magic Academy because 3 years from now, Albert would be 15 and enrolling, which also meant Alicia's sword training would have to wait until he came home. Finishing her reading, the bell rang for the time her brothers should have returned. Scurrying to find them, she noticed they were hanging out with all the conquerable routes in the game. There was the red-haired Eric of the Hudson family that specialized in fire magic, Finn of the Smith family, which held particular talent in light magic, Gale of the Evans family, which possessed mastery in wind magic, Curtis of the Kenwood family, who could use green magic. He wasn't from any of the 5 great noble families. And most important, the king's only son, Prince Duke Seeker. He uses water magic and ends up with the heroine in the game's good ending, and was also the one Alicia was most into. But she was going to leave the romance to the heroine. She needed an early start at making an impression as a villainess. When she ran up, Albert greeted her, then introduced her to his friends, who all thought she was so cute. Her heart was melting internally from their above-average looks. But this was a crucial moment. The world's greatest villainess can't be seen as a child with no manners, so she gracefully curtsied to introduce herself. The boys were impressed as she wasn't quite like the brothers had made her seem. They felt she was really well put together. Duke was not so captivated though, simply turning to the Williams brothers, who said they would show off their sword skills. That's when Alicia reminded them they promised to teach her starting today. She assured them she kept her strength training promise, and Albert said, all right, but you could tell none of them believed her. He took a sparring position with Alan, making Alicia pout. She quickly grabbed Albert's sword, kicked the tree to force a fruit to drop, and then easily sliced it in half, now telling her brothers to not make light of her. This actually got Duke's attention, and with Albert now accepting her seriousness, she was sparkling with gratefulness, and then ran off to go change. Duke then picked up the split apple to observe it, and smiled. A year after her brothers started teaching her how to use a sword, she's still just doing practice swings every day. The brothers told her training is useless if she couldn't hold a sword for several hours at a time. If she wasn't trying to become the world's greatest villainess, she'd be sick of this by now. And over the past year, Prince Duke has been visiting their house frequently. She wasn't sure why, but enjoyed seeing her eye candy around all the time. With her approaching, the prince asked if she was done for the day, learning she was just on a break. This was the first time he's spoken to her. He then asked why she worked so hard to learn swordsmanship, to which she almost answered to become a villainess, but stopped herself to say she wanted a villainously powerful grip. He laughed nervously, responding he'd look forward to it. Then patting her head, she became flustered. Albert then came by, making Duke pull away and apologize for interrupting Alicia's training. With her heading back, Albert questioned the prince on why he'd been coming so frequently. He thought it was for books at first, but now wonders if Duke had taken interest in his little sister, who was totally enamored with him. Elsewhere, King Luke was meeting with the rest of the leaders of the 5 great noble families. The village of Loana was apparently suffering from degraded living conditions year after year, but if they sent aid too hastily, the people would be displeased. They thought to turn their efforts away from it and instead focus on finding the Golden Rose, since their kingdom needed hope. Taking a break, all of the fathers discussed how their boys wanted to invite Alicia over to their houses, citing her polite demeanor. Arnold told them she used to be much more selfish. About a year ago, she suddenly started spending much of her time in the library. He couldn't wrap his head around why. Alicia found herself arriving from an invite to Finn's estate, heading out to the guest room with Finn for tea. Her brothers were alerted the king would be visiting here today. Inside the guest room sat the rest of the conquerable cast. She wondered what they were doing here. Moving inside, she noticed a map. At the end of the game, Alicia was exiled to a foreign country. Could it be that they were already approaching that ending? She felt things were moving faster than they were supposed to. Then, King Luke made his entrance and everyone gave their respectful bows. With Alicia displaying her usual curtsy, the king had her raise her head because he came to speak with her specifically. Much to her surprise, he quickly got to the point, asking how she felt about the position their kingdom of Dirkus was in. She was distraught, not understanding the point of his question. Why talk politics with an 8-year-old? But just as quick, she understood this must be a villainous test. She felt God has set this task to determine if she could be a great villainess. So, she expressed that while the kingdom of Dirkus is a major power, she could not call it a good nation. This shocked everyone in the room. She elaborated that while they may have a strong economy, the majority of the money lied with the nobility, creating a serious wealth gap. In Loana, a village on the outskirts, life is so difficult that many don't know if they can afford bread for tomorrow. Discontent toward the nobility grows ever greater. An uprising could break out at any time. The king then asked how Alicia would fix their economic strength. Her response was to take advantage of their neighbor, Calvera, and its gold mines. The king questioned this, since Calvera was ruled by Laval, another major power, making Alicia further detail they shouldn't go to war, but instead fund Calvera's independence. Their kingdom should maintain their relationship on the surface while trading with Calvera, and make them owe Durkis a debt. Once Calvera gains independence, they would have advantage in trading with them. Using others in order to make a profit is something Alicia knew that Goody Two-Shoes heroine would never do. If she kept this up, she'd come into conflict with the heroine eventually. She felt totally on track to being the greatest villainess ever. The king praised Alicia's thought process and took off, leaving her to breathe a deep sigh of relief. Duke asked if she was nervous, and seeing him up close, she thought he really was quite attractive. In the halls, Lord Evans brought up that the golden rose had been found. Now things were getting serious. Being met with a table full of desserts, Alicia was eager to eat. She gratefully accepted, stacking her plate full of macarons. And munching along, Duke couldn't stop staring at her while smiling. Curtis remarked they used to call him the Ice Prince, but now it seems an unexpected spring breeze had smitten him. At sunset, Duke presented Alicia a gift. He knew it was a bit late, but this was a birthday present for her. Opening it, she was blown away seeing the diamond necklace. After Duke left, she was still sweating because diamonds were far more valuable here than back in her old world. She couldn't comprehend why he'd possibly give her this. Back in the king's meeting room, they watched the golden rose bloom. Its owner, a baker in the castle town. When the baker's only daughter was born, this unusual rose bloomed, so he kept it. The 5 great nobles now knew this girl was the saint. This girl would join the kingdom's ruler to guide the people to peace and save the world. When one who will control the kingdom's fate is born, a special rose blooms. This was proven when the blue rose bloomed for Duke. With the 2 of them leading the way, the kingdom was certain to flourish. However, the king knew such a transformation always came at a price, and the bigger the transformation meant troubled times certainly awaited them with destruction and war. The legend of the saint spoke of this to occur when the saint united with a member of the royal family. They all had no choice but to accept this fate. In Alicia's room, though, she was working on her squats while wearing her diamond necklace. Even if Duke falls for the heroine one day and demands its return, she would never give it back. She was going to look him dead in the eye and refuse, like a true villainess. In the library, Alicia was contemplating on how to get to the village of Loana. Looking at a map, she thought to go through the forest behind the mansion. The king said people there couldn't even afford bread. However, that was just all knowledge found in a book. She felt a true villainess should go and see for herself. The only problem is that there's no way she'd get permission from her father, which means she'd just have to sneak out. Wandering through the forest, she screamed at the slightest screeches from some crows. She had to remind herself that as a villainess, she couldn't let a simple forest at night frighten her. Loana used to be enclosed by a magical barrier meant to keep heinous criminals from getting out. But since she has magic, maybe she'd be able to pass through it. And inside, she saw the tattered village and it smelled horrid. There were homeless here as well, just sleeping on the ground. Alicia had no idea it was this bad. Hearing footsteps, she quickly turned off her lantern knowing if the villagers found out she was a noble, they'd kill her. Upon getting her shoulder grabbed, she pulled out her blade, but now saw the man named Will, who did not have eyes. He told her there was no need to be afraid, and advised her not to draw her sword. Carelessly flaunting something like that here would only draw attention. He could tell she was not from here, and inquired on her reason for entering, to which Alicia responded she needed to see the village with her own eyes. Leading her back to his place, he asked what she wanted to know. He gave his name and referred to Alicia as young noble lady, a big surprise for her since she hadn't even really conversated yet. Will explained that even though he was blind, there was still plenty he could ascertain. Sounds, for example. He could hear the slight difference in her footsteps between her left and right foot. Not being centrally balanced, he inferred she was carrying a sword. The rustling of her clothes told him she was a woman, and the scent about her is too clean to be found around here. The fact that she entered this village from the outside confirmed she was a noble who possessed magic. Back when he could see, he was surrounded by nobles all the time because he used to work at the castle. But one day, he spoke defiantly to someone far above his rank and earned their ire. He lost his sight and was banished to this village long ago. Alicia asked what he said to that noble, and we learned he said, "A tradition that's been upheld for a long time doesn't make it right today." It made perfect sense because why do we learn history? To make the present better. No matter how much we learn from books, it's meaningless if we don't use it for the future. Alicia gasped. She could hardly believe such a remarkable man was banished from the castle. She asked if he detested the nobility, and to some degree he did. But he knew the day would come when someone would understand what he did. With Will now wanting to know Alicia's story, she began telling him everything, even her dreams of becoming a villainess. He retained his calm expression while listening to her every word. Despite him telling her not to come back because it was dangerous here, she told him there was no point trying to stop her. Since she insisted, he recommended she only visit at night. She would continue to visit until a year passed. For the past 2 years, she's continued to read books, learn swordsmanship, and visit Grandpa Will periodically. The biggest change was when her brother turned 15. He entered the magical academy, where the game takes place. She was also certain Prince Duke must have met the heroine by now, and she couldn't wait for the day she would get to confront them as the Villainess. Wandering the halls, Eric asked her if she wanted to visit the town with him today. But hold on, her big brother Henry wasn't going to let the two of them go alone. Alicia was excited to see the town and spotted a particular shop that a friend of Eric's ran. Paul greeted them, welcoming everyone into his medicinal herb shop. His family specialized in green magic apparently. He himself was a happy-go-lucky, low-ranking noble. To Paul, plants were amazing. They had the power to cure illness and heal the soul. He was born into an environment that made it easy to learn about them. He wanted to use that to help people in some way, which is why he opened the store. He presented a Josiah, something Alicia was familiar with. 1 spoonful of Josiah infusion will bring down any fever instantly. Hearing how knowledgeable she was on the subject, Paul asked if she was into plants. So Alicia hit her villainous pose, saying, "That's just common knowledge. Anyone who doesn't know that just hasn't studied enough." Seeing everyone stare at her aura, she felt she had spoken like a true villainess. A villainess would never say something modest like, "I knew that because I've read lots of books." That's how a heroine would try to talk herself up. Paul just laughed, not taking it seriously. Perhaps she still needed to study up on how villainesses act. Paul complimented Alicia's cleverness and was now telling Eric he better not drag his feet because soon he'd have lots of love rivals. But man, Henry told Eric there's no way he'd let him have his sister. Returning back to where the rest of the conquerable cast was, Duke did not seem pleased Eric was spending alone time with Alicia. Curtis wanted his turn with her next, asking if there's anything she wanted to do. And there was. She wanted to take the swordsmanship test, making Eric nervous, while Albert expressed disagreement. However, Alicia wanted to see where her training has brought her, even though her father and brothers insisted it was out of the question. Albert was sweating, but told her she was still only 10 and a girl. She continued to challenge this, because all her brothers had taken it at her age, and there were no rules against females. Still though, he kept telling her no and yelled at her that was enough. Realizing he lost his cool, he apologized, but reaching towards Alicia, she slapped his hand away. She didn't agree and wasn't backing down. She then left, storming out of the room. Albert was saddened. While walking the halls, Alicia was satisfied with her villainous reaction. The next day, she overheard Albert and her father talk about not telling her the reason why they won't let her take the test. So she quickly barged in, demanding they tell her and to stop treating her like a child. Arnold spoke in a sweet voice, reminding her she was a child, and he still wanted to be a father who worried for his beloved daughter. He promised to discuss the matter with her when she entered the Magic Academy at 15. That was enough to get her to accept and take off. Arnold knew he was just buying them time, but Alicia's swordsmanship already exceeded the capacity of a child. If he let her take the official test, she'd draw too much attention, good and bad. Albert reasoned that the 5 great noble families already knew the talents she possessed, given the economic plan she told the king a few years ago. He didn't believe they could keep her talents hidden much longer, but still, Their father wanted her to live as a normal child. In her room, Alicia was throwing a fit. She knew she was just a 10-year-old child, but if she wanted to be the greatest villainess ever, she didn't feel she could waste any time. She decided to go visit Grandpa Will, with the hopes of them chatting clearing her mind. This would be the first time she visited him during the day, and entering the village, she instantly found two men fighting. The daylight exposed the true face of Luana. Sneaking around some more, she watched a man kick a little boy over, and this shook her to the core. Hearing the men laugh at the idea the boy might be dead, she was distraught. Then Will pulled her aside, asking her why she came at this hour. Alicia tried to go towards the boy, but Will stopped her, telling Alicia there's nothing she could do being a child herself. They took the boy, Jill, back to Will's place. Will didn't believe Jill had the strength to pull through. This was not a rare occurrence in Luana either, as there were no good medicines here. We learned Will gathered children together and taught them writing and arithmetic. Jill was just an orphan, and even though he was only 6 years old, he apparently possessed an astonishing intelligence. Perhaps if he received a proper education, he could have grown to be a remarkable man. But even children born in this village-turned-penal colony are branded as criminals for their entire lives. Will hated that fact, but there's nothing they could do to change it. Alicia felt the weight of this suffering village. She wanted for nothing all her life. She had the best learning environment and a kind family. Just being born in different places created such disparity between her and commoners. Even living in blessed circumstances, she now understood she was sheltered just like any other little girl. She felt disgraceful. It's not that she wanted to help people. That's not something a villainess does. But she was sure the heroine would have saved Jill, and being unable to do something the heroine could do was humiliating. She didn't want to make excuses about being too young or too powerless. The next day, she met with Paul and asked him to share the Josiah with her. He could tell someone was sick and injured and offered her a baggie immediately. She just needed to dissolve it in water and have the injured drink it. While Alicia tried to pay him, he stopped her saying it was on the house. In return, he just wanted her to continue to be a patron of the shop. After administering the concoction to Jill, he was going to be just fine. With Will thanking Alicia, she admitted to her powerlessness. She thought she was doing all she could to become the greatest villainess ever, but now understood if she couldn't take action when it counted, there was no point. So from now on, she was going to dedicate all she had to her studies, and work even harder to be a villainess who goes down in history. However, Will was still unsure about the term villainess. Back in the family library, Alicia was determined to find a grimoire. She needed to master magic. Suddenly, sparks flew off of her and revealed a hidden bookcase. Opening the first book, it was exactly what she was looking for. This whole section was magical grimoires. She got to studying. Learning magic had different levels. Levels 50 plus required the mana of the 5 great noble families. The highest recorded level was level 100. But in one part of the game, the heroine and Prince Duke exceed level 100. As a villainess, Alicia knew she might always fall short of the heroine, but that was no reason not to work hard. She wanted to start with level 1 magic to make an object float. She needed to focus her mana towards her fingertips. Thinking this whole thing to be strange since there was no incantation, she casted Float and marveled over the book she made levitate. Even though it moved and smacked her right in the face, she had more to learn and was fired up. A few days later, she was shuffling bookshelves using level 5 magic, movement of objects. She was excited over her mastery, but fell over since she hadn't slept much to train. Her body felt heavy, and she had a headache that wasn't going away. She thought maybe she was low on stamina. She thought maybe she needed to do more physical training. Then suddenly, she got called by her father, and turns out the king was coming to visit her. She was excited for her first villainous trial in 2 years. On the carriage ride there, Duke asked his father what this was all about, to which the king simply said he wanted to hear one of Alicia's stories again, since it had been so long. The king also knew Duke was accompanying him, thinking there was more to it. After exchanging greetings, Alicia was a little shaken on the inside, seeing the heads of the 5 great noble families were all in attendance. She wondered if maybe she was already so well known as a villainess. Getting right to the point, King Luke asked if Alicia loved this kingdom. She was at a loss as to what he was asking, so he rephrased it, now asking her opinion of the way the kingdom operates. Alicia thought about the right answer for a villainess to give. She remembered Jill lying injured and responded, "I despise the kingdom's systematic, preferential treatment of nobles," causing everyone besides the king to gasp. He wanted more clarity. She continued, saying she detested that merely claiming to be a noble places even the most incompetent individuals at the top. Joan Evans wondered if she was insulting them. However, the king did not care, wanting Alicia to go on. She smugly cleared up that she did not mean all nobles were incompetent, but knew that to be a noble, one only needed to possess mana. However, mana and political prowess were two very different things. A shame that no matter how talented a commoner was, they'd never be granted any opportunities. Just how much talent is going to waste in this magic-based class system. She told them this was so foolish, it gave her a headache. Joan was still getting pissed, telling her to watch her tongue. While Alicia wished he'd keep his voice down since she still had a headache, she was pleased with herself. The king then asked her one final question. Did she understand that what she said applied to her as well? Would she not mind being ousted from her place in the 5 great noble families? She confidently answered, of course she was aware, making the men gasp once again. She explained being born into her family was through good fortune alone, and that wanting to keep her status guaranteed at the expense of more talented individuals would be uncouth. The king was pleased, despite Alicia's unusual resolve. After the meeting, she was totally worn out and losing vision. She fell over, with Prince Duke there to catch her. He could feel she had a fever. Albert came by, offering to take her to her room, but no, Duke wanted to carry her himself. She woke up, still in a daze but with Duke near her bedside. He had her sit up, trying to give her medicine. She couldn't focus, only breathing, while Duke pleaded for her to take it. No use. He asked for forgiveness, as he gave her the medicine through a kiss? After resting for the night, Alicia finds her fever seems to be down. This must be all thanks to Prince Duke's medicine. Remembering the mouth-to-mouth administering, she tried to reassure herself that it was just a life-saving measure, nothing more. She believed the prince saw her as a little sister at most. She had someone more important to think about as the villainess anyhow, the heroine. So today, Alicia decided to infiltrate the Magic Academy to investigate. Reaching the campus, she proudly proclaimed she was lost. Because this place was too big, she snuck around, looking for someone who could lead her to the school building. But if they knew a child like her found her way in here, she'd probably get thrown out. However, Alicia was surprised, seeing a green-eyed girl had found her. Liz Cather introduced herself. She had a surname Alicia had never heard before, and when Liz added that she was a commoner from a baker family, it became evident that she was the heroine. She didn't have a name or visuals in the game, so Alicia didn't recognize her. Out of courtesy, Alicia introduced herself, so Liz responded ecstatically and kind, asking where Alicia was trying to go. Liz then began leading Alicia to the school building. She thought of Liz as too friendly and ought to know her place. But then again, maybe not, since Liz was chosen to get into the academy on a scholarship based on her merits. She surely must have been treated unfairly due to her status. Alicia felt Liz to be ahead of her at the moment, but one day, she'd become her equal. Some other students then called out to greet Liz, and when she tried to introduce Alicia, our Villainess had already fled in hiding to prevent being spotted. But now, she owed a debt to Liz for helping her find the school. Spotting Duke, Liz ran up to him, mentioning the cute little girl she met a few moments ago. The other students began to fawn over how good Liz and Duke looked together. Being a commoner and a prince, it was like a love that defies class. They had even heard when someone bullied Liz by hiding her textbooks. The prince found them for her. They were rooting for their romance. Alicia knew those two were destined to be together. Just like in the game, the bell rang to signal class was in session, so now Alicia could freely go inside. She got excited, finding so many wonderful books on magic. In another classroom, 3 girls began talking about this amazing little girl in the reference room. Strange though, since it wasn't visitation day, there's apparently a new task posted on the blackboard every week, and this little girl was writing answers to it at breakneck speeds. Even more astonishing because the prompts tend to be very challenging. This week's was, explain how Laval might be brought under this country's jurisdiction. Overhearing the little girl looked 10 years old and had black hair, Albert got pretty nervous on the idea it could be his sister. So, they went to check out the reference room where Alicia had answered, "Use the economic collapse of Duran to isolate Laval. Once Laval is impoverished, we pretend to help them, then stake our claim." Curtis became shocked seeing a 10-year-old girl come up with this. She was so proud of herself though, commenting the answer looked pretty villainous worthy to her, but then dropped her chalk seeing her brother and his friends right behind her. Albert scolded her till nightfall. Back in her home, she overheard her father and Joan Evans talking about a girl being a dangerous divergent. Realizing Alicia had overheard their conversation, Joan said there was no choice. He needed to erase her memories. But Alicia promised to remain quiet. She wouldn't tell anyone that Liz Cather was a divergent. In the game, the heroine's exceptional talents are regarded as dangerous. With nervous sweat, Joan was fine as long as she pretended to have never heard any of their conversation. Alicia accepted and vouched for Liz, not seeming like someone who would bring harm to the kingdom. She quickly took her leave. Knowing now that the 5 great noble families had their eyes on Liz, she had to work harder so as to not fall behind. Later, Alicia tested her new level 10 dark spell that could clean dirty items. She was hoping to learn a spell that would purify Loana's drinking water, but that one's a level 25. She then got a knock at the door, and it was Albert telling her everyone's come to visit. Liz immediately greets Alicia with a familiar tone, something she found quite annoying. Albert wondered how Liz knew his sister, and she explained she helped Alicia find her way around the academy the other day, just like how he helped her on the day of the entrance ceremony. Suggesting this was all fate made Albert blush. However, Alicia didn't like Liz using her as flirting fodder. It definitely took no time at all for Liz to conquer Albert. Duke then prompted Alicia to have a seat next to him. The friends all gathered to decide what their class would do for the upcoming school fair. And since people outside the school would be attending, they'd love to hear Alicia's input as well. Alicia then remembered the school fair was the event in the game where Prince Duke and Liz rapidly grew closer together. As the villainess, she couldn't simply stand by and let that happen, but she contemplated slapping Liz with a challenge as her rival. She could go up to the two of them when they're getting all lovey-dovey and say, "A commoner like you has some nerve getting cozy with Prince Duke. Know your place." But now she had second thoughts, since using her class difference was unfair. After all, one's class was determined at birth. She felt if she wanted to insult the heroine, she should face her fair and square, maintaining her dignity as a villainess. Her new strategy was to clearly declare that she herself was the best match for Prince Duke. But now the idea embarrassed her, since that'd be the same as confessing her love to him. Liz saw how hard Alicia was thinking, and praised her for doing her best to help them think of ideas. Shoot. Alicia realized she was giving Liz a good impression. She brought up how she heard Liz could use all the magical elements, and suggested she give a performance on stage using her magic. Alicia now thought, how's that? A heroine would hate the idea of showing off her power like that, right? But she was now flabbergasted that Liz thought the idea was wonderful. Liz then suggested Alicia go on stage with her. However, Alicia indignantly replied she had absolutely no interest in performing with her. Albert told his sister she didn't have to go that far, and Liz started tearing up, wondering if she's done something to make Alicia dislike her, but quickly cheered up, telling Alicia there was nothing to worry about. If the two of them talked with each other a lot, they'd surely become good friends. Alicia was taken aback by Liz's optimism. Her brother then scolded her, saying, "You can't decide someone isn't a good match if you don't even know them." Alicia sighed, accepting what they said, so long as she didn't have to perform. At first, she thought talking to the heroine a bit might not be so bad, but not realizing it would carry into the evening, she now knew that was a mistake. The heroine asked trivial questions, like what was Alicia's favorite flowers and sweets? It truly exhausted our villainess. She couldn't take any more, so she decided to use a spell to bring a flower vase right past Liz's face, offering Liz's favorite flower, the Marguerite daisy, from inside, and telling Liz it was the perfect flower for a goody two-shoes like her. Albert, Curtis, and Gail were in shock though. They had no idea she could use magic already. Alicia came into a nervous sweat when they suggested she must be a divergent. She misunderstood the conversation her father and Joan had. It was actually about her, not Liz. Albert then told her to go to her room and asked everyone else to leave for the day. Liz then reassured Alicia everything was going to be alright, because Albert would find a way to take care of this, and then thanked Alicia for the flowers. In the evening, Alicia relayed what happened to Will. He now understood the gravity of the situation, explaining to Alicia that most people could only use magic after turning 13. He once knew someone who could use magic at a very young age like her. They were praised by everyone for their talents, and increased their magic ability to level 80, but eventually came to ruin after overestimating their own abilities and trying to use level 100 magic. As a result, the person's mana raged out of control, and they were unable to ever use magic again. He warned Alicia to always learn magic in order by level. Then, they noticed Jill had finally woken up. Alicia was glad to see he was alright. However, Jill looked away. Due to his circumstances, he tended to shut others out. Alicia didn't blame the boy, but wondered what Liz would do in this situation. In flower language, the Marguerite daisy represented sincerity and trust. Perfect for a heroine, but the exact opposite for Alicia, since she wanted to be a villainess. Realizing Liz's words would open up Jill's heart, Alicia felt a tug of inadequacy. The greatest villainess in history should never lose here. Alicia, with a condescending tone, told Jill maybe he should just die right here and now. She went on, continuing to talk down on him from running away from what scared him, causing him to seethe at her words. He replied that no one asked for her help, and told her to stop running her mouth, like a noble had any idea how he felt. And Alicia responded he was right. She had no idea. They grew up in different worlds, but he was also right that she needed to take responsibility for giving him that medicine. So, if he didn't want to live, she'd be more than happy to kill him. She prepared her magic, causing him to toss a pillow at her, which fell sparkling clean. She was pleased to see him fight back. So long as he held on to his desire to desperately live, she'd do everything in her power to keep him alive. She'd support him. If he wanted to leave this place, she'd take him with her. He wondered why, but she told him not to get the wrong idea. She told him she wanted to use him. She heard he was clever, so she thought he might prove an excellent resource. After all, she was the villainess. Jill had no idea what she was blathering on about. However, Will whispered while she was a bit strange, she was good at heart. Jill got up, and now understanding she was nothing like the nobility he'd met before, and accepted his place as her excellent resource. He didn't want anyone thinking he was ungrateful. As the two shook hands, he smiled, thanking her for the medicine, and she remarked him to be quite cute with his smile, to which he denied. The next day, the 5 great nobles discussed Alicia being a divergent. The king brought up Liz's status as the saint, since no one has ever heard of a commoner who could use all magical elements. Alicia was also exceptional for having the ability to use magic at age 10, but she was born of noble blood. It wasn't hard to imagine this happening. King Luke commanded Arnold and Joan to keep an eye on Alicia to ensure she maintains control of her magic. Elsewhere, Alicia was shocked to learn Liz's magic had gone out of control while practicing for the school fair performance. She's fine though, since Duke and the others were able to bring her mana back under control. Alicia was relieved to hear the good news, since she still needed Liz to be her rival. Later, we see Alicia demonstrating her mastery of levitating and placing down several books neatly. Her father then gave the news that the king suggested they accelerate her entry into the Magic Academy. A special exception, she'll be permitted to enroll at age 13. She continued her training after that, and then 3 years passed. Meeting with the king, Joan relayed that she had not lost control of her mana even once in the past 3 years. The men were shocked to hear that by this time, she reached level 80, more than the king expected, but he approved her enrollment into the academy. He then asked Alicia to serve as Liz Cather's watcher, something she wasn't expecting. Finally, we got to the time skip, but what's going to happen with her and the heroine? Find out next week by subscribing to my channel. Also, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.